Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm Ling Zhang. Here's a preview of some of today's stories. How affordable is affordable housing? One city councilman says the state's push for more housing is actually making housing less affordable. Protests sprung up across the country over the weekend after the Roe versus Wade ruling. In Los Angeles, one man was arrested for making a makeshift flamethrower. We'll have the details on who he injured. And a councilman in Los Angeles is looking to ban construction of new gas stations. Though it's not the first in the nation, it will certainly be in the largest city so far. Prices are increasing throughout the state. One city council member blames California policies for the rise in housing costs. Let's hear more on why he believes building more is actually hurting affordability.
Eric Peterson, a city council member of Huntington Beach, told California Insider's Siamak Karami that the more affordable housing projects the state builds, the less affordable housing becomes.
Well, once you start building just one type of product, then that destroys the affordability, because these people are charging $3,000 a month or $4,000 a month, and the people that used to have $1,200 a month rents said, hold it, why are we charging $1,200 when we're 3 blocks from the beach and they're up Beach Boulevard 4 miles? So they start raising, and it throws the balance off.
A 2020 study by the UC Berkeley's Turner Center for Housing Innovation found that increasing wages, cost of supplies, development costs, and demand are all driving up the price of housing units. And according to the LA Times, some affordable housing projects cost the state nearly $1 million per apartment to build. Peterson says these high costs are also due to California's construction regulations.
There's all these different things, whether it be Title 24 or an electrical code or just environmental things that they want. I think if there weren't as many regulations that we had to meet as, contractors, it would bring down the cost of building. It's still going to be high in California, but it would bring down those costs to where maybe make it a little more affordable.
But Peterson says the push for affordable housing is not simply to build more housing units. In his city, affordable housing projects have become part of the city's green energy mission.
We have a regional board, SCAG, the Southern California Association of Governments, and they used to deal with just traffic. Well, they've come to the conclusion that we need more housing, and the reason is not because of a lack of housing, but if you actually read their plan, it's to meet greenhouse gas emissions.
He says fewer out-of-city commuters mean lower gas emissions.
So it's going back to that green agenda, and it's been going on for years. And when I was actually on SCAG, there was only a couple of us that would vote against it. But I don't think we should be building housing based on greenhouse gases or commute times or anything.
Despite the growing cost of building more units, cities across the state are passing new affordable housing proposals. The state is also allocating about $1.4 billion of the new $300 billion budget to the state's public colleges and universities. The goal is to increase affordable student housing for incoming students. Cynthia Kai, NTD News, California.
Rankings for the best and not so best managed cities in the country came out last week. While the city of the councilman we just heard from did exceptionally well, another major California city came in just one step away from last place. See if you can guess which one it was.
The best and worst run cities have been ranked for the year, and California's front-running city peaked at 21st place. That's according to research published last week by Wallet Hub. The findings were based on the quality of city services that leadership provided, as well as the city's budget per capita. The study analyzed 150 cities across the United States. Overall, Orange County's Huntington Beach led California at 21st place for best-run cities. But Huntington Beach also ranked first place in the whole country when only considering city services. San Diego ranked 4th place for services and 59th overall. Fremont also came in the top 10 for services but ranked 76th overall. Other major cities like Sacramento, Oakland, San Jose, and Los Angeles hung low on the overall list. But it was San Francisco that saw the lowest ranking in California and almost the nation at 149th place. It also tied with several other cities as having the highest long-term debt outstanding per capita. But San Francisco wasn't all bad, ranking 14th for services. Only Washington, D.C. was ranked worst at 150th place. As for the top 3 cities in the nation, those were Nampa, Idaho, neighboring Boise, Idaho, and Fort Wayne, Indiana.
A 30-year-old California man was arrested over the weekend during the Roe versus Wade protests. He is being accused of allegedly attacking an officer with a makeshift flamethrower.
Police arrested a man from Los Angeles on suspicion for attempted murder. 30-year-old Michael Ortiz is accused of using a makeshift flamethrower on a police officer. The officer had to be treated for burns at a hospital. Ortiz was attending a pro-abortion protest in downtown Los Angeles. These protests follow the June 24th Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. Michael Moore, police chief of Los Angeles, says that he condemns all violence against any officer. He said that individuals participating in such criminal activity are not exercising their First Amendment rights in protest of the Supreme Court decision. Rather, they are acting as criminals. The department will vigorously pursue prosecution of these individuals. A total of 2 people were arrested and 4 officers were injured throughout the weekend. Protests are scheduled to continue throughout the week. Ortiz's bail is set for $1 million with a pending court date. Daniel Hall, NTD News, California.
A Los Angeles City Councilman is drafting a policy to ban new gas stations. His goal is to encourage fossil fuel-free transportation.
Los Angeles City Councilman Paul Koretz is drafting a policy to end the construction of gas stations. He hopes to bring it to the council by the end of the year. Koretz said, "We are ending oil drilling in Los Angeles. We are moving to all-electric new construction, and we are building toward fossil fuel-free transportation." Last March, Petaluma in Sonoma County became the first city in the nation to ban new gas stations. Councilwoman Delinda Fisher authored the motion. She believes other cities will follow their lead. California Governor Gavin Newsom signed an executive order in September 2020 to phase out gas vehicles by 2035. Several bills limiting the use of fossil fuels have made their way through the legislature, even amid some pushback from Californians.
Speaking of gasoline, prominent gas provider Chevron is selling its office headquarters in the Bay Area and setting up base somewhere else in California. It will also help employees to relocate to its Texas office.
Chevron is planning to sell its Chevron Park campus in San Ramon and move to a new modern leased space in the same city. A Chevron spokesman informed NTD via email that the current real estate market provides the opportunity to right-size our office space to meet the requirements of our headquarters-based employee population. The company expects to move during the third quarter of 2023. The company says it also plans to shift some jobs to Texas. It will offer its San Ramon employees an option to relocate to Houston if they so choose. Chevron, which has a 140-year history, will stay headquartered in California. It has operations and partnerships throughout the state.
The federal government sued a Sacramento City councilman for a variety of labor violations. The councilman's attorney calls the lawsuit a politically motivated campaign against him. But it's not the first lawsuit against him of this kind.
The U.S. Department of Labor is suing Sacramento City Councilman Sean Laloy for a variety of labor violations. He is the owner of several local grocery stores. The federal government alleges that Laloy threatened to deport employees who cooperated with an investigation into his stores. Additionally, Laloy allegedly underpaid employees, failed to provide paid sick leave, and employed minors in hazardous occupations. The lawsuit says that Laloy agreed to pay back wages from previous investigations, but that he later demanded kickbacks from those employees that he paid. Laloy's attorneys called the lawsuit a politically motivated campaign against him because parts of the investigation occurred in 2020 when he was running for city council, but the feds have been watching Laloy since 2009 for similar allegations. And in 2018, 2 former grocery store employees filed a lawsuit against Laloy's companies in a Sacramento Superior Court, claiming they were not paid overtime. The Sacramento Bee reported that Laloy is facing a separate controversy for not living in the Hagenwood house he says is his residence and where he is registered to vote.
We're going to take a short break, but here's a look at what we got for you when we come back. A man who worked at the Los Angeles International Airport was recently sentenced to prison for stealing international-bound gold bars. We'll look at what he did and how he was caught. The Supreme Court may be influencing California again in the coming months. There will be a decision on Proposition 12, which regulates livestock living conditions. We'll hear why the case made it to the top. And the world's ugliest dog contest is back. We'll take a look at what it takes to be dubbed the winner of the ugliest dog competition this year. That and more on California Today. A man who stole gold bars from an international airport is heading to prison. He recently pleaded guilty to the theft. NTD's David Lam has the details on the case.
A man who worked at Los Angeles International Airport was sentenced to 12 months behind bars for stealing gold. 39-year-old Marlon Moody of South Los Angeles was also ordered to pay a $7,500 fine, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Moody pleaded guilty last year to a charge of conspiracy to commit theft of an interstate or foreign shipment. Co-defendant Brian Benson, also of South Los Angeles, pleaded guilty to the same charge. He was sentenced in November to 4 months behind bars. Both men worked for Alliance Ground International, a company that provided ground handling services at LAX. During a stopover at LAX, the gold was offloaded and secured. However, an inventory that evening showed one box containing 25 gold bars was missing. Moody found the missing box of gold bars near the Singapore Airlines cargo warehouse on the morning of April 23, 2020. He placed the box on a belt loader and drove that vehicle to a nearby location. He then removed 4 bars. Soon after, Benson arrived to pick up Moody in a company van. They later left the airport and went to a nearby parking lot where Moody gave Benson one of the 4 gold bars. The lost box with the 21 remaining gold bars was discovered by other cargo handlers. Authorities then began an investigation that ultimately led to Moody and Benson. The FBI recovered all 4 gold bars about 2 weeks after they went missing, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. David Lam, NTD News, California.
Arresting people for prostitution loitering may be a thing of the past. Lawmakers just sent a bill to the governor that would ban arresting people for such behavior. Opponents say it's a fast way to increase sex trafficking in the state.
Lawmakers in California recently sent Governor Gavin Newsom a bill that would ban certain prostitution arrests. The bill would prohibit arrest of people loitering for prostitution. Democratic Senator Scott Wiener, author of the bill, claims that the arrests disproportionately target transgenders, blacks, and Latinas. He painted the bill as an effort to normalize sex work. Critics see the bill as another way to restrict the ability of police officers who are doing their jobs. Greg Bird, a spokesman for the California Family Council, told the Associated Press that he fears the bill is part of a drive to decriminalize prostitution in California. Bird said that the bill seems to be perfect if you want sex trafficking to even increase in California. The disgraced former San Francisco District Attorney Chesa Boudin supports this bill. Voters recently recalled him from his position following voter outrage against his policies. 2 prior bills have been passed that were closely related. In 2016, a bill was passed that banned arresting minors for prostitution. In 2019, another bill was passed that disallowed possession of condoms as a reason for arrest.
A California law supported is now at the fate of the U.S. Supreme Court. California's livestock mandate has been under the scrutiny of many who claim the law violates the Constitution.
A lawsuit against California's Proposition 12 is scheduled to be heard in the U.S. Supreme Court. Proposition 12 is an animal care law designed to give livestock better living conditions, but at the same time, it also influences how out-of-state producers can do business. According to California's animal care program, Proposition 12 requires that covered animals be housed in confinement systems that comply with specific standards for freedom of movement, cage-free design, and minimum floor space. This law prohibits companies from conducting business within the state if restrictions are violated. In a filing by the American Farm Bureau Federation and the National Pork Producers Council, the two groups argue California's law violates the U.S. Constitution's Commerce Clause. The clause restricts individual states from regulating commerce outside their borders. So far, 26 states and many agricultural agencies agree that this law imposes substantial burdens to interstate commerce and provides little benefit to California residents. The Biden administration is the latest backer of the Supreme Court filing, stating that the proposition would require costly changes that would negatively affect the livestock industry. However, many opposition groups, including the Humane Society of the United States, Animal Legal Defense Fund, and Animal Equality, disagree. They argue that producers are still free to sell their livestock outside of California, and that these restrictions would only apply to those who conduct business inside the state. California Attorney General Rob Bonta has successfully defended numerous lawsuits against Proposition 12. He says that petitioners have not alleged that compliance with that restriction has caused massive and costly alterations or disrupted supply and demand nationwide. Tyson Foods and Hormel Foods have both said that they will make the necessary changes to comply with the law. But Smithfield Foods recently announced that it will be closing its facility in the city of Vernon due to the escalating cost of doing business in California. This case is scheduled to go in front of the U.S. Supreme Court on October 11th.
The world's ugliest dog contest is back after a hiatus during pandemic lockdowns. Dog owners showcased their four-legged companions for a chance to win the title of the world's ugliest dog. Let's see which pup took home the prize this year.
The world's ugliest dog contest returned to Petaluma, California after a 2-year absence due to pandemic lockdowns. And this year's crowned winner is Mr. Happy Face.
Oh, you know, it feels incredible that there's recognition of true inner beauty, and that is just amazing. So I don't know that I feel like I've got the world's ugliest dog. I know I've got the world's most lovable dog.
Mr. Happy Face came all the way from Flagstaff, Arizona, with his owner, 48-year-old musician Janita Benali. Benali adopted her dog from a humane society after the original rescue dog she planned to get had already been adopted.
They had said all of these different things about the dog, and I said, it's okay, I'll want to see him. And he came out, and he just hobbled out, and he was the happiest, most beautiful creature I'd ever met in my life.
Mr. Happy Face blew away the judges and the crowd with his gray mohawk, awkward hobble, and snort-like breathing.
Mr. Happy Face is wonderful. I love his crooked head, his hairless body. He's all pimply, and he's just adorable but ugly at the same time.
With the backing of the audience, he was the clear winner.
It was so epic. It was everything I hoped for. I have been looking for, I actually have an ugly dog at home, and I left her to come and see these ugly dogs, and they did not disappoint. I love these guys.
Second place went to a 6-year-old Pekingese named Wild Thing. It has more hair than body and no teeth to hold its tongue in its mouth. And a 12-year-old Brussels Griffon named Monkey won third place. Other contestants included a pair of pugs, a Mexican hairless named Morita, and many more ugly pups.
Now let's check in with Thomas Christian for an update on sports.
I'm Thomas Christian, giving you the California Today Sports Roundup.
A total of 12 members of the Los Angeles Angels and Seattle Mariners were suspended by Major League Baseball on Monday for their roles in a benches-clearing brawl at Angel Stadium a day earlier. After being hit by the pitch, Jesse Winker took a couple of steps toward the mound, then moved towards the Angels' dugout. Wearing a cast on his surgically repaired right wrist, Anthony Rendon met Winker with an open hand to the face, and both benches and bullpens emptied as several skirmishes broke out. Angels manager Phil Nevin was suspended for 10 games, and Mariners outfielder Jesse Winker received a 7-game ban as a result of the on-field fight, which was triggered in the second inning. Wantz received a 3-game suspension for intentionally throwing the ball at Winker while warnings were in place. Wantz began serving his suspension Monday night. Angels third baseman Anthony Rendon was suspended for 5 games for leaving the dugout while on the injured list. He will also be prohibited from sitting on the team's bench for the next 7 games and will serve his suspension when he returns from the IL. In addition, Angels assistant pitching coach Dom Chidi and Mariners shortstop J.P. Crawford were suspended for 5 games each. Angels pitcher Ryan Tepera was suspended for 3 games. Angels pitcher Raisel Iglesias, Mariners outfielder Julio Rodriguez, and Angels bench coach Ray Montgomery and Angels interpreter Manny Del Campo were suspended for 2 games each, and Angels catching coach Bill Hasselman was suspended for 1 game. The game, delayed by 18 minutes by the Brawl, was won by the Angels 2-1. John Wall agreed to a buyout of his $44 million contract Monday with the Houston Rockets to become a free agent. Within half an hour of the news breaking, John Wall had committed to joining the LA Clippers for an undisclosed amount once he cleared waivers, and the NBA free agency window officially opens on July 1st. The 31-year-old point guard sat out the entire 2021-22 season with the Houston Rockets after a dispute about his role with the team. He has dealt with multiple injuries over the past few seasons, having played in only 113 games out of a possible 410 over the last 5 seasons, and missing 2 whole seasons completely. So why would the Clippers sign a beat-up, over 30 point guard that hasn't played a game in almost a year and a half? Because John Wall made 5 straight All-Star appearances between 2014 and 2018 before his injuries. In those years, he averaged around 19 points and 9 assists per game, with decent efficiency, and was considered a top 5 point guard in the league during that time. Wall carried an otherwise nondescript Washington Wizards team to the second round of the playoffs twice, and helped his team make the playoffs 4 times in all. He's had at least 1 full year to recover from his previous injuries, and now as a relative unknown for NBA front offices, will hopefully become an economic solution to the Clippers' point guard woes in the coming season. Other Clippers, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, are expected to be fully healthy this season, as this Los Angeles team looks to be a title contender coming out of the Western Conference.
And that's all for sports.
That's all for tonight. You can join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. If you have any news tips or ideas for our show, or just want to let us know how we're doing, our email is california.today@ntd.com. I'm Liang Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.